No One, issue number 1 from Image Comics. So this is part of the Massiverse, the Radiant Black universe, and I have no idea why. Because the thing that the Massiverse kind of shares with each other is the fact that they're all tokusatsu in some way. This has no tokusatsu at all. At least not in the first issue. Maybe it'll end up having some tokusatsu. I don't know. But yeah, the themes don't match. The characters, like there's no crossover characters. So I have no idea why this is part of the Massiverse. But it is. At least according to Image's issue number 1 solicitation, it says no one is in the Massiverse. So, all right. So how is it? Because anyone who's watched any of my other videos, you'll know that the Massiverse always starts off really terribly. Every single Massiverse series has started off bad, including Radiant Black. Radiant Black has gone better, but it started off very poorly. It didn't take until halfway through the 3rd issue before it started getting better. The only series that had a good start was Infernal Girl Red. That was the only one that I've actually enjoyed from the get-go. So how is this one? Well, it's interesting. Like, I kind of went into the mindset of, okay, this is a Massiverse. Let's see what we're going to get. But it completely surprised me because it's not all what I was expecting it to be. Especially since it's by Kyle Higgins, who has done Radiant Black. He's the creator of Radiant Black. I believe he also did the Power Rangers, Boom Studios. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. He did do like Ultraman for Marvel. So Tokusatsu is kind of his thing. So I was kind of expecting that. And that's not what I got. So basically this couple is outside. They're about to make out when they find a dead body with 4 bullets in the chest. And they see this, there's this figure. And it just says no one. He's watching over everybody. And what's going on is there's this hacktivist superhero vigilante, and I don't want to say superhero, hacktivist vigilante who goes by the name No One. And No One feels like the justice system isn't doing everything it can to stop crime. So he kind of takes the law into his own hands, not by actually doing anything to stop the villains like physically. Like what he does is he creates a video where he threatens to expose a corrupt individual, and then later on he will release data doxing them in all their crimes. That's pretty much all he does. He's just doxing everyone's crimes, everyone that's committed all these heinous acts or broken the law and gone away with it. Meanwhile, there's this other character called Richard Roe. And Richard Roe is going around murdering the people that no one has doxed. No one has kind of distanced himself or herself. We don't know who no one is. No one has distanced themselves from Richard Roe, saying that they have nothing to do with Richard Roe and that Richard Roe is like doing everything on his own. And later on, it turns out that Richard Roe he's a son of the Philadelphia police captain. And so because of that, like his reputation is kind of tarnished. People don't really want him to be on this case and stuff. And this is basically a story about how there's all these copycat killers because Richard Roe was stopped. Yeah, this was before this issue even came out. I think this is issue number 1. So I think there was like a prologue in one of the Image issues, just the series called Image, which is just like an anthology of stuff. I know there's a lot of Massiverse stuff in there. I'm not going to read that. I read so many Massiverse stuff. I'm not going to be reading one-shot anthologies. But at this point in time, by the time this issue starts, Richard Roe has already been captured. He's currently in jail. He's in custody. And there's been copycat killers. There's been 2 before that were stopped, and now this is the 3rd one. And Richard Roe always has the same modus operandi, and that's shooting his victims in the chest 4 times and leaving a 5th casing. And so that's what the figure that we see in the beginning is. A dead body has 4 bullets in the chest and the 5th bullet shell casing. And so they're like, all right, it's another copycat. Meanwhile, we have this other character. Her name is Julia, and she is a reporter. Like the group that she's a part of, she's part of the Philadelphia Ledger. And that newspaper group, I guess they have a TV series as well. And they want to create like a series following the Richard Roe and the No One and all that stuff. But they want to kind of like sensationalize it. And then Julia is like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to put myself into the story. Like I don't want to be like one of those kind of like muckrake. No, not it's not muckraker. It's a Mondo, one of those Mondo journalists. I don't want to do that. Like I want to be an actual professional journalist and be like what I was taught in school. And I'm like, if you were taught in school, like this takes place in 2023, you're pretty young. I'm pretty sure that journalistic standards weren't taught in your school anymore. Like not to get political or anything like that. But just look at journalists nowadays. And I'm talking about journalists from both sides. And I say both sides because there are no apolitical journalists. You either have like the newspaper, the news media stuff. They're either on the left or they're on the right. There is no unbiasedness anymore. And so to see a journalist in this story that actually wants to be a journalist and not sensationalize or kind of like make the story into an entertainment, but actually tell the facts. That's like the biggest fictional thing in this story to me so far. But so yeah, that's her whole like story of this. And then the other main character is Ben, and Ben is the captain. He is the guy who's one of his son was Richard Roe, the original Richard Roe, and he has another son. And his other son, Michael, is a drug addict who's kind of like living off the streets now. And yeah, his whole life is kind of like in shambles at this point in time. His wife is dead, has been dead for years now thanks to cancer. And so he's kind of like, he doesn't know what to do. One of his sons is a druggie, the other one's in jail for murdering people. Meanwhile, there's a third copycat that's copycatting what his son did. Only this copycat not only killed someone with the same MO, but also left a note saying, I am the real Richard Roe. So now it's like, I don't want to say there's doubt that he believes his son didn't murder, like wasn't the original Richard Roe, just because of the fact that like he doesn't visit his son, he doesn't want anything to do with his son. He didn't stand by him when his son was going through trial. His son even admitted that he was Richard Roe. Whether that's actually the case or he was lying, who knows? I guess we'll find out. But that's pretty much what this issue is. This whole issue is just like setting up the no one, the Richard Roe, this mysterious killings, who's who, and just kind of introducing these characters in their own little stories. So like I said, we have Julia and her reporting, we have Ben, and we have his whole family drama and trying to stop these killings. We have a Richard Roe going around murdering people. We have no one who's stopping these killings. Like we have one point where this guy, Richard Roe, shows up and he's going to shoot Ben. And Ben's just like, just do it. And before he can get a shot off, no one shows up and attacks Richard Roe. And during the fight, Ben ends up getting shot in the shoulder. And Richard Roe ends up running away. And rather than stopping him, no one instead goes to help Ben. So now it's this whole thing. It's like, okay, so who exactly is no one? You would think, oh, maybe it's his other son, the druggie. But it turns out that that druggie is the next victim of Richard Roe. He ends up getting shot in the chest 4 times because we get 4 blams. And we see 5 casings. So once again, he was shot by the third copycat, Richard Roe. So he's out of the picture. And now it's like, okay, here are our characters. Here's their little story. And there you go. I will say that I think the issue at the end does kind of like a better job of explaining things going on. But when you're first reading through it, I'm just kind of lost a little bit at times. I feel like it's like as I'm reading it, to me, it's like, am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing like a volume 1. Like this almost feels like a volume 2. Like I feel like I'm missing the original Richard Roe and his killings, and then no one and who exactly he is. Because at this point in time, like all that's already been established in this universe. Like everybody knows who Richard Roe is. Everyone knows about no one. They don't know who no one is, but they know of the figure. And we're already like on the 3rd copycat killer, so we don't even see the first 2. So it's almost like we kind of jump in the middle of things. So as we're reading this, I was kind of lost. I was like, did I like miss something other than the Image anthology one shot? How much of this am I missing? Like I feel a little bit lost. But at the end, they like once all the story is done, you know, at the end of comics they usually have like sometimes they'll do like letters to the editor, or like they'll have like a preview for another series or even the next issue or whatever. Well, here Instead, what they have is they have a fake Wikipedia called Nopedia, and it's on Aaron Kern, who is the son of Ben Kern, and he is the Richard Roe, the first one. So it has like basically his entire life. Like it's Wikipedia, it has his early life, his crimes, his capture and alleged confessions. So it has all that stuff. We even have all the characters and their portraits as well as their names and what exactly it is that they do. I could just say like Ben Kerr, Assistant Chief of Operations, Pittsburgh Police, Julia Page, Crime Metro Reporter, Pittsburgh Ledger, etc., etc. And then we also have this thing that really helped me out. It's like a fake newspaper, but it's just it's from Edge News. It's the Richard Roe murders, a timeline, and then it basically gives a date. And it's like, here's what happened. So on May 1st, no one sends his first video. On June 2nd, Daniel Gaines publishes a deep dive on Edge. So it breaks down everything. So I kind of wish this was in the beginning, just because it would have helped me make sense of things. But I kind of understand why they didn't do that. Because if they did do it that way, that's not really a good way to kickstart your comic. Like if you're trying to get new readers and the very first thing that they see is a fake Wikipedia page and a fake news article and the two of them combined take up 3 whole pages, most people might get turned away from that. So starting off with a murder happening was the right decision. I just kind of wish that, I don't know, maybe we can do like a show and don't tell by having the first issue be like a time that, setting up all this stuff. Because this feels like I said, this feels like either the second volume, or if you really want to condense things, it feels like an issue 2. It doesn't really feel like an issue 1. So like I said, kind of confusing at first, but eventually once you get to the very end and you read all that extra stuff, things start clicking in and start making a lot more sense. And even then, it's not like you're going to be completely lost. Like you're going to be able to understand what's going on. You're just going to feel like you kind of came in when things have already happened. So I guess the best way to describe it would be like, say you're watching a football game and you come in and the Niners are up 14 against the Raiders who have 3. So, okay, Niners scored 2 touchdowns and the Raiders scored a field goal. You just don't know how it happened and you don't know when it happened. You just know it happened before you came into the game. So you don't know how exactly like both teams are doing. Like, is the offense for the Niners doing really good, or was it the defense that was able to get the points? Did the Niners put up 14 from the get-go and then they've been kind of slagging off and now the Raiders are kind of making a slow comeback? You don't know. That's kind of how this issue is, where it's like you're not completely lost. You can kind of get what's going on, but you kind of feel like you're missing some things. Like you come in and it's like you feel like there should have been more before the first page. But like I said, once you get to the end and you read all that extra stuff, things start making a lot more sense. So I guess to go back to the question, how was this? This was surprisingly good. I liked it. I'll just say this is a good start. So it's surprise. Like I was completely expecting a dud, because that's how like the other stuff has been. Like I said, like Radiant Black started off terrible, got better later on. Still has its issues, but I do enjoy it at this point in time. It's just, it could be a lot better. But yeah, it started off very weak. Dead Lucky has been absolute garbage, and it hasn't gotten any better. Oh, wow, I'm starting to lose my voice. I've been doing a lot of recordings lately because I've had the free time to do so. But yeah, Dead Lucky started off very terrible and hasn't gotten any better. Rogue Sun has been terrible. Has like 1 or 2 issues that have been like, oh, looks like it might be getting on the right track. And then it's like, nah. It was Fool's Gold. Radiant Pink and Radiant Red, well, the less said about them, the better. So, yeah, this was a welcoming surprise. I liked it. It was good. Hopefully it continues to be good and it doesn't, it doesn't fall into mediocrity or just crappiness like the other stuff in the Massiverse series has been. How this still fits in the Massiverse, I still don't know, though. I guess we'll find out. But there you go. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. So what'd you guys think of that video? I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe, hit that bell for a notification, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't enjoy the video, thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next video is more to your liking. Feel free to check out the playlist that you guys see, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.